All right, guys, so we got some big updates for our Baltimore Ravens ahead of a absolutely crucial matchup with a very good Philadelphia Eagles team that's 9-2, going against our 8-4 Ravens, man. It's two of the best teams in the NFL right now. It's two great head coaches. It's two great running backs, two great quarterbacks, weapons on both sides of the football with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and then Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, man. It's going to be an absolutely loaded matchup for us. It's going to be a lot of fun in Baltimore in the 4 o'clock window as well, so everybody's going to be watching. A big game for both teams here, staying tight in their playoff races with major implications. So we got some good news, some bad news, injury updates, and all things in between. So let's go ahead and dive into the content. At number 1, let's get the bad news out of the way. Okay, so Kyle Van Noy could very well miss this game, a very important matchup with the Eagles. He is tied with the Baltimore Ravens leading sack producer in Odafe Oweh. They both have 8 sacks this season, so it'd be a huge blow if Kyle Van Noy cannot go. I mean, he's a big part of that defensive line, and he makes his presence felt. Kyle Van Noy dealing with a neck issue right now. John Harbaugh says that he's touch and go, and it'll depend how he feels. The other bad news here is that Charlie Kolar, the number 3 tight end for the Ravens, he broke his arm. He's a guy that has sprung Derrick Henry open for a lot of big runs this season. He's a huge part of the run game as an inline blocker, but he's also underrated as a pass catcher and has made some big plays. I can think of the catch last week against the Chargers on a scramble drill where he got open for Lamar Jackson. I can think of the big play against the Cincinnati Bengals, whenever he got vertical. So definitely a loss for the Ravens, but Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews should definitely be able to handle the workload as the number 1 and number 2 tight ends there. At number 2, some good news though. All right, so Roquan Smith, after missing last week against the Chargers and the week before that exiting early against the Pittsburgh Steelers with a hamstring injury, he should be good to go in this matchup against the Eagles. He was a full participant in practice. He did have a workout on Monday Night Football before the game, and he could have went, but they wanted to be safe and cautious. So it's looking like he'll be ready to strap up versus these Eagles. That's obviously huge because they're playing a very good offensive line, and the leading rusher in the NFL right now in Saquon Barkley, who had over 200 scrimmage yards last week. Man, he's having an absolute monster season. And at number 3, speaking of that offensive line, that running game, here's what Odafe Oweh had to say on playing them on Sunday.
Offensive line, had a lot of success. Good offensive line. We played a lot of good offensive lines this year, but we have the same mentality. Try to take it to them. We're going to take it to them and try to dictate it as much as we can and, not let them do that.
So he says, yeah, man, the Eagles' offensive line is good, but, our mentality doesn't change. We take it to them. We don't sit back and wait for them to take it to us. And it's going to be really fun because the Ravens and Eagles both have elite run defenses, and they both have elite run offenses. So something's going to break, right? Something's got to give. This is going to be a very physical game. And I don't think the Eagles are quite used to playing the level of physicality that the Ravens are in the AFC. It's a different type of conference, definitely a different division, because their division they're in is kind of soft, to be honest. I mean, they got the Giants, they got the Cowboys, the Commanders are a good team, but the Ravens are in the AFC North is a whole different ball game when it comes to physicality and run game, stopping the run. And I'm eager to see, because the Eagles have bullied a lot of teams, and the Ravens don't really get bullied very often, so it'll be fun to watch this matchup. At number 4, Lamar Jackson had something to say on this very stout Eagles defense that he's going to be playing. The Eagles defense is actually number 1 in the NFL in yards per game right now. They're top 10 in run defense, pass defense, but they've also played some very good defenses so far this season. They played the Chargers, who were the number 1 overall scoring defense heading into that game, and they hung 30 on them. They played the Broncos, who were the number 1 defense at the time, and hung like 41 on them. So they played some good defenses and had a lot of success. The only defense they really haven't had success against is the Chiefs and the Steelers, and that's not just this season. That's been a common theme throughout the last couple of seasons. Really eager to see how this shakes out, but here's what Lamar Jackson had to say on this Eagles defense.
Oh, man. Jalen Carter is amazing. Those guys up front are doing an amazing job. Getting after the quarterback, causing disruption in the backfield, explosive defense. That's what I'm saying. Great corners, all around defense, safeties, pretty smooth.
At number 5, There's a lot of talk about the MVP race right now. I would love to see Lamar Jackson win his 3rd MVP. People say that it doesn't mean anything and that, only the Super Bowl matters. And I agree that the Super Bowl is the main priority and that I want that above all else. Lamar Jackson wants that above all else, and a 3rd MVP absolutely means a lot. I mean, it would put Lamar Jackson in elite, uncharted territory that, other quarterbacks, like all-timers, have not achieved that type of accolade. So I think it's important for Lamar Jackson's career Hall of Fame type of accolades for him to get that 3rd MVP. I'd love to see it, but I'd also love to see a Super Bowl MVP. So, hey, if Lamar Jackson can go ahead and get that Super Bowl and that MVP this season, I'm here for it, man. But I just want to show you some of the dialogue that's going on right now in the media regarding this MVP. People are talking about Josh Allen and stuff, but here's what Ryan Clark had to say on the matter.
Yeah, so the big thing for me is this. This is the Lamar Jackson MVP game. This narrative is being built to put Josh Allen at the top of the MVP race because he's the one great quarterback that we talk about amongst that trio of quarterbacks in the AFC that hasn't won one. But make no mistake about it, Lamar Jackson is playing the best football at the position right now. This is the game that Lamar Jackson has to go out and prove it. You're playing against a team that has a better defense than yours. You're playing against a team that has a running back comparable to yours, right? We've seen you against the Kansas City Chiefs. We've seen you against your biggest rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now you're playing a team that's supposed to have more than what you have. Go out and prove that you're the best player in the league. Go out and prove that you're a quarterback that can go not only above the X's and O's, but go above the total roster. And if you're Todd Monken, put it on Lamar Jackson. And I'm not saying don't give the ball to Derrick Henry, but if it's 3rd and 11 like you get against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Lamar Jackson, and they call a pass and you got an opportunity to rush for it, go use your legs and get it. Go above and beyond what anybody else has ever done at the position because that's what we've seen you do throughout your career. We want to see it in the big game. To me, this is very much like we watched Lamar Jackson last year against the San Francisco 49ers, where he had to be Superman. Cam has done this before. He knows how important these big games are when your roster may not be totally better than the other team, and I've watched him go above the X's and O's in the roster. That's what Lamar Jackson has to do this weekend.
So he says, hey, man, go out and prove you're the best player in the league in a big-time matchup against the roster that he's saying. He's insinuating that the Eagles roster is better than the Ravens. Maybe. I don't know, man. They got a really talented roster. I mean, they got Jalen Carter, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, a stud, very studly offensive line. They got Darius Slay. They got corners, safeties, man. They got guys everywhere. But what they don't have is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is better than Jalen Hurts, and I don't think many people would argue that, maybe besides some Eagles fans. But I think that the stars for the Ravens are going to shine bright on Sunday. I think you're going to see Lamar, Flowers, and Henry lead the show here. And don't sleep on our guy Andrews, Likely, and Bateman either. Whenever you start to throw in guys like that as complementary pieces, that's how you know you're a talented offense. Whenever you're saying, hey, Mark Andrews, who was an all-pro, let's say Likely, who's a stud tight end, and then Rashad Bateman, you're just throwing those guys in casually after you name your 3 other stars. You got some depth on offense. And every week it feels like, is this gonna be the game that Deontay Johnson gets in on the action? Because let's not pretend like he's not a talented receiver. Deontay Johnson is very talented. I mean, this season with the Panthers, he had 3 games over 70 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He's not like old and washed up, man. So I think he's going to get in on the action as well. We'll see if it happens in this game or not. All right, guys, so I can't wait to watch this game with you guys. This is just going to be such a fun matchup because the amount of talent on the same NFL field. Like the fact that we're going to see Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and then Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then the guys on defense as well. It's going to be fun. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content, man. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
Ray
He ran me over.